Two books remain. They have survived the gauntlet. They have weathered the scrutiny of Fort Richmond Collegiate's most discerning literary minds. They have been debated in hallways, classrooms, and, one imagines, at least one dinner table. What you are about to witness is not merely a vote. It is a reckoning, a cultural inflection point, a moment that will echo, perhaps not through the ages, but certainly through the remainder of the school year. Consider carefully. The weight of this decision is yours to bear. Voting closes the morning of April 6th. The link and full dossiers of our two finalists can be found on Edsby and on YouTube. Choose wisely, choose well, choose. Action.
If I won FRC Reads, what would that look like? More people would know you, Ivan, and love you, Ivan, like I do. There'd be more empathy and compassion in our world. He may not be the gorilla we asked for, but he is the gorilla we need.
And the Oscar goes to Miss Teichroew with the one and only Ivan.
We won? We won! Ivan, we won! I can't believe it. What an honor. I'm honored here today to be the winner of FRC's March Madness. And I'd like to thank Katherine Applegate for creating this lovable character, Ivan, who is an inspiration to everybody who meets him and his other animal friends. I'd like to thank my students who have read this novel with me and loved Ivan just as much as I do. And I'd like to thank Ivan for being an inspiration to us all, that even in our dark days, we can look forward to blue sky enemies. And of course, I'd like to thank Leroy Bell.
Hi everyone, I'm Miss Teichroew. This is my buddy Leroy Brown, and this is our pitch for FRC Reads March Madness. The story that I've selected is inspired by the true story of a gorilla named Ivan who spent almost his entire life living in captivity in a circus in a mall in Tacoma, Washington. Ivan's story has been fictionalized and reimagined by the author Katherine Applegate in her Newbery Medal award-winning story, The One and Only Ivan. There are many reasons why I love this story, and it's been really difficult narrowing it down into a short video, but I think one of the things that makes this a worthwhile read is how far-reaching and relatable and appropriate the subject matter is. Applegate has finally crafted a story told from Ivan's perspective. So it's first person or first gorilla narrative, which invites us into this dynamic character. He's funny, he's witty, he's clever, but he's also a little bit oblivious to some of the things that are happening in his life. As a reader, we have a glimpse into what he's thinking and feeling, and so sometimes we know things about him that he's not fully aware of yet. The story deals with grief and loss and friendship and love and resilience. It's a story that is sad, but also full of hope. The circus he lives in is struggling. There's not a lot of visitors anymore. He's old. He's not interesting. His boss, Mac, is looking for ways to bring in more money. In the meantime, his best friend, Stella, the elephant, she lives in the domain next to him, brings him comfort. Bob, the dog who lives loose in the mall, brings him companionship. But they have limited resources, and Mac is looking for ways to bring in more money to keep the mall and the circus afloat. The excerpt that I've chosen begins with the chapter Shapes in Clouds. I think I've always been an artist. Even as a baby, still clinging to my mother, I had an artist eye. I saw shapes in the clouds and sculptures in the tumbled stones at the bottom of a stream. I grabbed at colors. The crimson flower just out of reach, the ebony bird streaking past. I don't remember much about my early life, but I do remember this. Whenever I got the chance, I would dip my fingers into cool mud and use my mother's back for a canvas. She was a patient soul, my mother. Imagination. Someday I hope I can draw the way Julia draws, imagining worlds that don't exist yet. I know what most humans think. They think gorillas don't have imaginations. They think we don't remember our pasts or ponder our futures. Come to think of it, I suppose they have a point. Mostly I think about what is, not what could be. I've learned not to get my hopes up. The loneliest gorilla in the world. When the Big Top Mall was first built, it smelled of new paint and fresh hay, and humans came to visit from morning till night. They drifted past my domain like logs on a lazy river. Lately, a day might go by without a single visitor. Max says he's worried. He says, I'm not cute anymore. He says, Ivan, you've lost your magic, old guy. You used to be a hit. It's true that some of my visitors don't linger the way they used to. They stare through the glass, they cluck their tongues, they frown while I watch my TV. He looks lonely, they say. Not long ago, a little boy stood before my glass, tears streaming down his smooth red cheeks. He must be the loneliest gorilla in the world, he said, clutching his mother's hand. At times like that, I wish humans could understand me the way I understand them. It's not so bad, I wanted to tell the little boy. With enough time, you can get used to almost anything. I have been in my domain for 9,855 days alone. For a while, when I was young and foolish, I thought I was the last gorilla on Earth. I tried not to dwell on it. Still, it's hard to stay upbeat when you think there are no more of you. Then one night, after I watched a movie about men in black hats with guns and feeble-minded horses, a different show came on. It was not a cartoon, not a romance, not a western. I saw a lush forest. I heard birds murmuring. The grass moved, the trees rustled. And then I saw him. He was a bit threadbare and scrawny, and not as good-looking as I am, to be honest. But sure enough, he was a gorilla. As suddenly as he'd appeared, the gorilla vanished, and in his place was a scruffy white animal called, I learned, a polar bear. and then a chubby water creature called a manatee, and then another animal, and another. All night, I sat wondering about the gorilla that I'd glimpsed. Where did he live? Would he ever come to visit? If there was a he somewhere, could there be a she as well? Or was it just the two of us, all in the world, trapped in our own separate boxes? And so, if like Ivan, you love stories with a black beginning and a stormy middle and a blue sky ending, then Leroy and I recommend that you pick up a copy of the one and only Ivan.
Hello there, it is I, your cute and lovable literary monster Grover here, to tell you that there is a book for every interest.
Wow, what if I won March Madness? I didn't think I would even get this far. I am so amazed and pleased and happy. Could you imagine if I beat out like Friesen and Teichroew and like a Resnick and what's that guy, the guy that wrote the book, published the book. Yeah, him. Yeah, what if I beat out him? Yeah. Oh my gosh, that would be amazing. Yeah, wow, that'd be so cool. Wow. Oh my gosh. I cannot believe this has happened. I have dreamt of this. Since I was like this high. Look at this trophy. Look at it. Oh my God, I can't believe I'm here. Okay, all right. I know the music's gonna start playing. I'm gonna get cut off. You don't get here by yourself. You really don't. There's so many people to thank. My agents, my manager. Okay, I don't have an agent or a manager, but you know what I mean. I mean, there's just so many people. The people that read the books, people that write the books. What would I do without the writers of these books? Oh my God. What would I do without Mr. Artsy? What would I do without my tiara? Oh, I knew I should have got a bigger tiara. I have a really big head. Not because I'm so smart. Well, that's true. But no. Oh my God, I'm so excited. I'm babbling. That's what people do when they win. They just babble. But look at this. Oh, I'm just so, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. You like me. You really like me. Sorry, that was a Sally Field reference. Nobody would get that unless you're over 40. Okay, anyway, just so happy. Hi, welcome to March Madness, and thank you to Mr. Arksy for setting all of this up. I love it. My name is Miss Savage, and the book I'm going to be sharing with you today is Tuesdays with Morrie by Mitch Albom. This is a classic memoir that stands the test of time. It's the true story of Mitch's relationship with his former college professor, Morrie Schwartz. After college, they lose touch, but they reconnect years later when Morrie develops ALS, basically when he's dying from ALS, or what's commonly known as Lou Gehrig's disease. They spend hours together, with Morrie, the professor, teaching Mitch one last lesson, basically the meaning of life. It's a humorous book, it's poignant, it will make you cry, it will make you laugh, and the teachings of Morrie will stay with you long after you've read this book. There's also a pretty good movie version of the book starring Hank Azaria and Jack Lemmon. So here is an excerpt from Tuesdays with Morrie. He was 8 years old. A telegram came from the hospital, and since his father, a Russian immigrant, could not read English, Morrie had to break the news, reading his mother's death notice like a student in front of the class. "We regret to inform you," he began. On the morning of the funeral, Morrie's relatives came down the steps of his tenement building on the poor Lower East Side of Manhattan. The men wore dark suits, the women wore veils. The kids in the neighborhood were going off to school, and as they passed, Morrie looked down, ashamed that his classmates would see him this way. One of his aunts, a heavy-set woman, grabbed Morrie and began to wail, "What will you do without your mother? What will become of you?" Morrie burst into tears. His classmates ran away. At the cemetery, Morrie watched as they shoveled dirt into his mother's grave. He tried to recall the tender moments they had shared when she was alive. She had operated a candy store until she got sick. after which she mostly slept or sat by the window, looking frail and weak. Sometimes she would yell out for her son to get her some medicine, and young Morrie, playing stickball in the street, would pretend he did not hear her. In his mind, he believed he could make the illness go away by ignoring it. How else can a child confront death? Morrie's father, whom everyone called Charlie, had come to America to escape the Russian army. He worked in the fur business, but was constantly out of a job. Uneducated and barely able to speak English, he was terribly poor, and the family was on public assistance much of the time. Their apartment was a dark, cramped, depressing place behind the candy store. They had no luxuries, no car. Sometimes, to make money, Morrie and his younger brother David would wash porch steps together for a nickel. After their mother's death, the two boys were sent off to a small hotel in the Connecticut woods, where several families shared a large cabin and a communal kitchen. The fresh air might be good for the children, the relatives thought. Morrie and David had never seen so much greenery, and they ran and played in the fields. One night after dinner, they went for a walk, and it began to rain. Rather than come inside, they splashed around for hours. The next morning when they awoke, Morrie hopped out of bed. "Come on," he said to his brother, "get up." "I can't." "What do you mean?" David's face was panicked. "I can't move." He had polio. Of course, the rain did not cause this, but a child Morrie's age could not understand that. For a long time, as his brother was taken back and forth to a special medical home and was forced to wear braces on his legs, which left him limping, Morrie felt responsible. So in the mornings he went to synagogue by himself because his father was not a religious man, and he stood among the swaying men in their long black coats, and he asked God to take care of his dead mother and his sick brother. And in the afternoons, he stood at the bottom of the subway steps and hawked magazines, turning whatever money he made over to his family to buy food. In the evenings, he watched his father eat in silence, hoping for, but never getting, a show of affection, communication, warmth. At 9 years old, he felt as if the weight of a mountain were on his shoulders. Now, I hope you vote for me. But more importantly, I really, really hope you read Tuesdays with Morrie. It helped me to appreciate, even more than I did before, the value of human life and just not to take things for granted. And that every day I wake up is a gift. It's another opportunity to try to make the world a little better than it was the day before. Thank you.